Hi, I'm Laurel Mo. This week I would like to discuss freedom and liberty in early Western civilization from the perspectives of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Already he stated in Liberty and Property in Classical Antiquity that the concept of liberty in early Western civilization had its basis in chattel slavery. According to George Trinimos in Choice of Slavery Institutions in Ancient Greece, Athenian chattels, and Spartan helots, the early Greek city-states had institutionalized slavery. However, the form of slavery differed between Sparta and Athens. While the oligarchy of Sparta had enslaved the indigenous helots who worked their masters' fields, the democracy of Athens used foreign people as chattels for agricultural production, crafts, banking, mining, and other domestic work. Stephen Dates, in Concepts of Freedom in Euripides' Hecuba, stated that the Greek experiences with the Persian Empire inspired them to develop concepts of freedom and enslavement. Observing that the Persians were subservient to a single individual and that no Greek was inferior to any person, led the pan-Hellenistic Greeks to conclude that there existed a bond between a person's nature and their nationality. Therefore, for a person to be free, the person would have to have legal control of their body, have political and civil rights, and be Greek. While Socrates is credited with the early formulation of Western philosophy, he left no written record of his thoughts and beliefs. Consequently, his philosophy has been interpreted from writings of his life and philosophy by Aristophanes, Xenophon, and Plato, the latter of whom was a devoted student of Socrates. Aristotle writes in Plato's Doctrine of Freedom that Plato's dialogues with Socrates in the Republic are intended to demonstrate that it is a benefit for an individual to be just, and therefore only a just individual can actually be free. Plato is cited in the Republic as stating that Socrates argued that an unjust individual and an unjust city are weak and powerless as they are divided by descent, while the just individual is wise, strong, and powerful as they have self-mastery. Socrates further claimed that the just individual is only free when they have self-control over their desires and is not enslaved by them. Accordingly, freedom is not the ability to do as one wishes, but rather is the ability of one to master oneself with reason and moderation. Plato stated in the Republic, "Liberty is best managed in a democratic city, and for this reason that is the only city in which a man of free spirit cares to live." Plato was critical of Athenian democracy, as was in that city-state that his mentor had been executed for corrupting the youth. Plato believed that the people in a democratic city enjoy liberty and are free to do whatever they want. However, he stated that because democracies do not concern themselves with the character of people that they place in control, they lack rational direction and therefore act in ignorance without will. Plato furthered that an excess of liberty and inattention to other things in a democracy leads to the necessity of a dictatorship. Plato continued his critique of democracy by stating that when the spirit of liberty in a democracy becomes absolute, it leads to anarchy, as there are no standards or sense of servitude. Meanwhile, the excess of liberty honors leaders who resemble their subjects and subjects who are like their leaders. He argued that the excess of liberty causes people to become so free that they do not follow laws. Plato concluded that tyranny results from the masses' need for security and a protector from the masses to whom they subjugate themselves in the name of democracy. He stated that the tyrant propagates a state of unfreedom in all forms in which paranoia and anger bring about a state of constant conflict and war, in order to prolong the necessity of the leader. Aristotle was a student of Plato's, who, according to Mara Walsh, believed that freedom was the ability by which one directed themselves to ends that one's reasoning recognized as choice-worthy. Aristotle was cited in his Politics as making a distinction between people who are suited by nature for slavery and those people he believed were suited by nature for freedom. Aristotle believed that only those suited by nature for reason were able to be masters, as he stated in Politics. It is this characteristic of deliberation that caused Aristotle to state that individuals without responsibility for deliberation within democracy would be enslaved. One could conclude from a short examination of the philosophies of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle that freedom is first and foremost the distinction between masters and slaves. However, the concept of slavery was more than the chattel slavery that was institutionalized in ancient Greece. True freedom could only be achieved by a just individual who was capable of deliberation and determining the appropriate means to specify ends through reason. Finally, those who were incapable of deliberation within democracy were in effect slaves and not free people. Within the context of the ancient Greek philosophers, the terms liberty and justice for all at the end of the American Pledge of Allegiance make more sense, in that liberty without justice is anarchy. Thank you.